If you had shown the POWKIDDY V90s to us nerds maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we would have soiled our pants and bought it immediately. Now, in 2025, it's not so easy. But before we begin, let's talk about something very important. If you want to do any mods, a lot of people who use these flip devices make little bulges over here that look like funny things, and you may want to make that for yourself. If you do, you should consider PCBWay. They've been supporting this channel for a while, and I've done a couple of projects with them now. You can check out the videos on those where I made recently a purple Game Boy using the POWKIDDY RGB 20SX. And what I did there was I used their 3D printing service. Their 3D printing is exceptional quality, especially if you choose the right materials. I chose translucent, I went with purple. That made it quite expensive, but you can choose the materials according to your budget on their websites. They also do custom PCBs, they're called PCBWay, and you can even print in metal. There really are a lot of options there on the website, so go check it out. They have regular specials, and their help facility on the website is very responsive. So go check out PCBWay. Thanks so much, guys, for supporting the channel. Alrighty poos. So I've written down here, the RG35XX SP, which is this little bad boy, is $79.99. This V90s is $59.99. You can get it cheaper on the POWKIDDY website, but their shipping is very, very slow. Now, not only do we have the RGB35XX SP, we also have the Miyu Flip, and if you are a regular viewer of my channel, you will know that I have a sordid history with this handheld. My previous one is sitting here. The hinge is broken. I broke it. I went out of my way to use this hinge aggressively. I haven't been as aggressive with the V90s, I must be honest. I haven't sat, I've done a lot of these hinge videos where I said, I've been doing this for thousands of times. I haven't done that with the POWKIDDY V90s, and the reason for that is this is a very, very similar hinge to the RG3, bloody hell, these names, come on, man. And then TechDweeb just confuses us with his names. This POWKIDDY, this Anbernic RG35XX SP has got a very, like a suspiciously similar hinge, and with the see-through, it does look like the same pin. So I haven't been too aggressive with this because I've done a fair amount of testing. Today in the studio, I've been flipping it, and it's been fine. And so I'm going to be doing that through the edit of this video, and if I pick up on anything, I will note it while I'm speaking now in the little typey poos. Okay, we also have these, the Flip, the SP, the 34XX SP, which is the baby version from Anbernic of their 35XX SP. I really like this one. This is nice. A lot of people don't like this little head here, the 5 head, as a lot of people belovedly call it. I don't know. I kind of dig it. I must say though, the Miyu Flip has got a lot going for it. It has the best controls, in my humble opinion, just lovely, lovely controls. It has a very nice design, doesn't have the 5 head. I noticed this new one that they sent me, this seems to be painted plastic, so I'm gonna do a little test of this. I might do a separate video on this handheld. A legend was born when the V90s came around. Someone can be in an interview and they say, well, I was working at so-and-so for 30 years. Means nothing, so even though this has been around for a while and it is the legend, doesn't really mean anything that they've brought out a new one. Does it hold up to the rest? Now we're going to immediately jump into what it's missing, and that is the biggest problem with the V90s, is the omissions. Those omissions have allowed for it to be considerably cheaper, and so we will talk about it as we go through this video, whether those losses are worth it. We have no Wi-Fi, which means no artwork scraping, which to me is a big one. If you put your own ROM set on here, it's just a pain to get those artwork thingies on there. No retro achievements, that's a big deal to a lot of people. No Bluetooth, which means you can't connect Bluetooth controllers, which brings us on to the next one. There's no HDMI out port on here. And I know that a lot of the circuitry that they buy, these motherboards that they buy, have the stuff built in. So they chose one without an HDMI output. and that sucks. And the reason it sucks is because you can't use it as a console at home. And I know another YouTuber used the RG35XX SP to say, what a wonderful home console. You can set it on your table with like this, with the screen propped up, put the HDMI port out the back, and off you go to the races. You can't do that with this, and that is a big loss. That is quite a severe loss and a deal breaker for a lot of people out there. When I first got it, I thought to myself, this is a huge fail. Like, this is one of the reasons I enjoy using these. Like, the flip has got a great close to power down facility, although I haven't tweaked or fiddled with the software to see if it works properly. Yeah, there you go. So power down. And that is a wonderful feature to have. They have not put that into the software. So you have to press the power button, let it power off, go into sleep mode, and let it go. On that note, my sleep mode was okay, but it's not a real sleep mode. I left it on my desk here for about 3 days, and after 3 days it died. Now that is not sleep mode because I never played any games in that time. So that is a bit of a fail in terms of the power down facility on this handheld. And kind of critically, especially with this handheld, we'll talk about the operating system in a bit. There's no custom firmware for this. The little issues that we experience with this handheld cannot be fixed with custom firmware right now. Okay, so let's look at the hardware. Like I mentioned, the sleep mode isn't great. This has a 3000 milliamp hour battery. This, the RG35XX SP, has a 3300 milliamp hour battery. Small incremental difference. The battery experience on here is definitely better because of the sleep modes and all that sort of thing. As you can see here in my dpad test, we get some good results. What I've been doing lately is using Tetris to test the vertical ghosting, and then use Darkwing Duck and Contra to test the horizontal ghosting, and then Street Fighter for a general impression of what the D-pad is like. Now, we see bad results with Contra, but everywhere else we see good results, so this is not a bad D-pad. Then, in general, we have very good low travel distance membrane buttons. So these buttons are not super clicky, not super clackety, and they don't have a huge amount of travel on them. The start and select are clicky. Unfortunately, I am not seeing a use for the function button. We've got slightly clicky volume buttons on the side here. Let's just listen to the clickiness of the shoulder buttons. Just to compare that to the Miyoo Flip, where it's one of the things that it really got right. Almost silent. They've dampened these quite well, and they have done that the best out of all of these, just by the way. So slightly clicky shoulders, very good membrane controls with low action, low travel distance, and a D-pad that seems to be performing fairly well. Do the old shake test. That probably is the worst. Actually, no. It's as bad as the RG35XX SP. Miyoo Flip has no shake. It's actually the hinge that's rattling there. And then the 34XX SP has got slightly less shake than the 35XX SP. I got through those names all right, don't you think? And then the famous crotch time that you all come here for. I have jeans on today. They used to be skinny jeans. I've had them for a while now, so they're not skinny jeans anymore. Leaves a bit of a bulge. It is a thick boy, but because of the flip screen and all that, it does come off quite well on the pocketability side of things. So quick dimness test. This is not the dimmest screen I have seen. I think you are going to get away with playing this in bed late at night. So you'll see now that I have to adjust the camera to actually get it to not blow out on the screen, which is a good sign. That's quite a few stops down that I have to do. This is actually quite bright, so you're gonna get some good daylight playtime out of this. I don't always talk about this, it is always in my notes, but I don't always talk about the feeling in hand because it's subjective, and you know, some devices aren't pretty remarkable feeling in hand. But with this POWKIDDY, I feel like the feeling of the plastic, the choices they've made, this little glass window here, the matte plastic, it's quite nicely, every now and again I talk about chamfers, like how in the factory they chamfer off the edges of the plastic. they have done that with. And POWKIDDY don't usually do that. Usually their devices are quite rough to the touch. This has got a great, smooth, soft touch to it all round. And it adds to giving it quite a premium feel, which is interesting because of the fact that it is a cheaper device. So the hand feel of this device is very good. All right, so as I mentioned, this hinge, and there's no hall sensor to pick up on the fact that it's closed, nor is there anything in the hinge to pick up that it's closed. So there's a downside of this hinge. But as I mentioned, this does seem to be there. You can see the metal pin there, and it's exactly the same metal pin there. And then how this works is it's in a sort of sprocket system, and it clicks into specific places. And if it is the same one that LITNXT are using, which it does appear to be, we are in for a good lifespan of this hinge. The V90 worked very, very well, but as we know with POWKIDDY, things are a little bit random with them, and I wouldn't trust, their previous one worked well, so this one will work well. But that being said, this does seem to be a very good hinge. I haven't put it through its paces, but like I said, I'm filming this tonight. Tomorrow as I edit, I will keep doing my little thing, and I will let you know if there are any issues with this hinge. And then also just to say, it only has one spot, and then it's got this play section just for overuse. What I will say is that this hinge is, you see, it's got exactly the same, you're not going to see this, but it's got exactly the same little bit of wobble once it's open as the RG35XX SP. So don't take me to the bank on this, but I think it's the same hinge. I mean, look there, we've got the same hinge system, we've got the same lines there, line there, so the two hinges there, and then the pins over here. So I think it's the same hinge. All right. Performance is interesting, if you find this sort of thing interesting. We've got the LITNXT, the RG35XX SP, and then we've got the MiU Flip, which has slightly more powerful chipset than these two. But that being said, you're going to get, these things are up to PS1 systems. So everything, from Game Boy all the way through Mega Drive, Famicom, Super Nintendo, all of those things up to PS1 are going to play fine on here. And then with all of them, N64, Dreamcast, and PSP are not the complete catalog, and you're going to get more and more gameplay as you move across from this device, the LITNXT, through to the POWKIDDY, through to the MiU. So again, like I say, there's a lot to like about this MiU. They really just let us down with this hinge. Yeah, but very nice handheld. The most powerful out of the lot. So what I think we've got here, I don't know if this SD card is specifically to the LITNXT version, but we've got a huge library of games that we can pick and choose. Some of them not all of them will play, so they've just given us what they have, and then you can kind of find what works. The dpad to analog stick swapper is good. To circle back to that audio crackle that I was finding in the audio test, we definitely are seeing that here and there. It's not as smooth as these other devices, so that's a software RetroArch tweaking issue, something to do with the syncing of the audio, but it's not prevalent in all the games. It's not there all the time, and you can play a bit of PSP and all that. I think also if you stick to PS1 and below, you're going to be very happy with this handheld, and then see N64 and PSP and Dreamcast and all those things as a bonus on this handheld. So I didn't want to make this video very long today. Does the legend live on? Does the POWKIDDY V90 hold to its thing? Not somebody at an interview saying, I've been at this company for 30 years, but they're useless at their job. I don't think it is useless at its job, but it's not a slam dunk. The competition is stiffer. What they've done is said, let's just make it as cheap as possible because then we can compete with all these other handhelds. LITNXT have got they've all got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. They've all got HDMI. Their softwares are better. The screens, I haven't done a screen comparison, but this screen, just like these, has got a slightly subdued color profile, but a nice accurate color profile. And so the screen is good on this. I wouldn't say these screens are better. I think the Miu Flip, as I recall, might pop a little bit more. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think the Miu Flip screen pops a little bit more compared to the LITNXT and the POWKIDDY. Here's a feature that I think is one of the biggest fails of the POWKIDDY, and that is the fact that it doesn't have a 3.5mm headphone jack. The V90 had a 3.5mm headphone jack. I actually seem to remember seeing a guy on America's Got Talent who was doing a whole sort of like retro shtick, and he was sitting backstage with a POWKIDDY V90, a yellow one, with headphones coming out of it. That really appeals to me, that retro 3.5mm headphone jack experience, specifically of this SP. I don't know why, because I have no nostalgia towards the SP, but for some reason, that to me is a very big miss from POWKIDDY. All of these have 3.5mm headphone jacks. Out of everything that this thing is missing, I think that's the biggest feature, the 3.5mm headphone jack. Let me know if you think it is as big a deal. There's no Bluetooth headphones either, so you're relegated to only using the speaker. So for me, mostly I would be putting this on silent, which kind of sucks. So the RG35XX SP is better, but the POWKIDDY works where it counts. It's got an okay user interface, it has enough power, it has a good hinge, lovely controls, a nice screen, and an overall feel that is very pleasing. So what would I choose? Like I said, my personal gripe is the 3.5mm headphone jack. But apart from that, the LITNXT RG34XX SP is my favorite of the lot.